Hi everyone, and thank you for purchasing the Features Grid Shopify section by qwiqode. In this video, I'll be showing you how to actually use it. So if you haven't installed it yet, please refer to the separate video included in the package, and you also have access to a PDF with some instructions. So to get started, head over to your theme editor, navigate to the page you want to add the section to, click on Add Section, and search for the section name, so Features Grid, and you get a default view of the section that you just installed. So over on the left, you have what are called blocks right over here. Each block represents this group of image, title, and text. So we can go into here and let's add a little bit of content. So we have feature icon. Of course, it could be an image. We'll just do both just to show you what we could do here. So we can choose this icon. You can choose to hide it if you don't want it. Change the title here and the text right over here. All the stuff right over there. Like I said, you can also add in an image. So let's go into here and let's just add in this image, for instance. And let's add in this. You can adjust the sizes in a minute. I'll show you. And we'll just keep it like that for the example. So those are the settings for the blocks itself. Of course, you can add more. You can drag them and change their order if you'd like, and so on. Next, if you click on the main section here, you get a long list of settings. First, we have the section title here. So you can change the section title to our product features, let's say. You could change the HTML element here from H1 to H6, and this is good for two reasons. One is for better SEO, meaning search engines rank different headings in different parts of your text differently and give importance to them. So for instance, headings are usually very important, like a page title, like that's what right up here. And then you have section titles and you have smaller titles right over there. So usually you have a page with an H1 for a page title, and you're only supposed to use one H1 on each page. And then we usually recommend choosing an H2 for section titles. The second benefit for having this is that your theme already has some preset styling settings for the text, depending on what you set. So if I set H3, then you see the font is different, and that way you don't have to go down here into the settings and change font size or color or so on. You still can, but this may speed up your updating process. So moving on, we can set a section background color. So let's just choose a color like that. We can select to have the section regular width, as you can see here, and then we can control the width, like so. Or you can just do full width, and then it expands to the very edges of the browser, at least the background, but you can still control the width of the content, like that. Next, we have margins and padding. So section margin, you can add some top margin, so give more space at the top. Bottom margin here, we don't really see the difference, or we can if we move this down. You see, it gives you can adjust the space between different sections. Horizontal padding. Right now we're in full width, so we won't see the difference. But regular, let's say, you could do horizontal padding, and then it gives more space right into there. Actually, you can see it with full width as well. If you extend the max width to the very edge and you include more padding, it gives more space within the section, while margin is outside of the section, like that. Then if we want more space at the top and the bottom, so we have section padding top and padding bottom. Like that. Next, we have those same padding and margins for mobile. So if we switch to mobile, as you can see. They're coming up really quite to the edge here. So you go to the horizontal padding and add some more padding right over there. You can add more padding to the top and to the bottom, as well as margins if you have more sections right over there. Moving on, section title styling. So here, like I said, we can still update the typography of the title. So we can change the color. We can set the alignment. We can choose a custom font. So if you want a custom font, you select that here, and then you can select the font from the extensive list that Shopify provides. Or if you have a manually installed font, you can just put the CSS in here. It's a little bit more for advanced users, but you can do that as well. And like I said, you might not have to do this because when selecting the HTML element up here, you're probably going to get the same font used in your site anyway. Moving on, we can set the font weight. So right now it's defaulted to bold, but we can do 400, which is considered regular, and so on. So we just keep that at default for now. And here too, we have the margin. So we can add even more space up there. We can add more margin bottom, so it'll give more space below. And we can adjust font size. Keeping it at 0, we'll just use the default that the theme provides. Same thing with line height. Line height for titles isn't as important unless your title is very, very long and it goes down to 2 lines. But usually I would keep this at 0, and then you can set up letter spacing as well. And we have those same settings for mobile. Moving on, so now we have grid settings. So we can choose how many columns we want in the grid. So right now it's defaulting to 3. We can do 2, 4, 5, or 6. And then as you can see, automatically it goes to the next line. We can add, increase the gap between each row here. So you can add that and you see more space right there. And gap between the columns. There's more space there, as you can see. Let's just decrease a little bit the max width. There we go. And for mobile, we have an option to either have 1 column or 2. Having anything more, as you can see, even with 2, depending on how much text you have here, if you have any text, you might not want any text, but if you do, then it starts to get a little bit messy. And so having more than 2 is already will cause an issue. And that's why we limit it so that your site is still can be read properly. We'll leave it at 2 now. And here as well, we can set up the spacing between the items. Next, feature image styling. So we right now have the dimensions set to square, but you could set it to original. And so right now you see the original images here are landscape, and this one is actually square, so that the original is there. And here we can increase the size of the image. But if we want them all to be, let's say, all of them square, we do something like that, and then we adjust to have the same size. Or if we want portrait, so you can see this one will be cropped depending on the image, but all of them are actually cropped to get this portrait image. It's always best to update the same size and dimensions of the image, and then it'll be easier to control. But in case you don't, or you don't know how to, you can always use this feature here. Next, we have an option to have the image on the top or to the side, like that. And we have the same option for mobile. If we look at mobile, we can have it at the top. Oops, we do it on the side. But as you can see with 2, it's a problem it doesn't look right. So usually it's not recommended unless we do something like that with one column for mobile. Next, we can select the image margin from the text. So the margin between that, so we can increase that a little bit more if we want. Now we can set the text styling. So right now it's defaulted to center. We can do left aligned, we can do right aligned. Now we can adjust the margin between the text elements. So that's this margin here. So we can add more or less. Same thing for the text alignment on mobile and the margin. And now feature title styling. So we have this feature title. So we can also set this to be different if we want. We can change the colors, change the font weight, font size, line height, letter spacing as usual. Same settings for the mobile version. And then we also have the text block styling. That, and those same settings for font weight, for font style, font size, line height. Here, line height, you can see a little bit more the effect that it creates. Letter spacing, and those same settings for mobile. We added another feature that I wanted to show you how it works, which is a section image. So we can add another image to either side of this feature grid. So if we go in here at the very top of the sections, we have section image. We can go down and select, let's select this image. And as you can see that now there's an image that appears to the right. Now, of course, we can go in and change all of this. So let me show you. First of all, let's make this a little bit bigger so we have a little bit more breathing room and some content like that. Okay. So once we added the image here, we have image dimensions. We can set it to original or landscape. And in this case, the image is set as landscape. Portrait, which crops it and makes it portrait, or square. As you can see, we also have this setting called adjust height to image to the height of the content. So if we uncheck that, in certain cases, and I'll show you in a minute, the image is going to be shorter than the grid. And so, for instance, here on landscape, you see it's shorter. So if I click this, then it does take it out of the regular landscape dimensions or proportions, but it does stretch it so it'll align nicely with the grid. Additional features we added here, so we can put it to the left or to the right, like so. Width of the image, so we can make it much bigger. Obviously, you don't want it to be too big, but you have that option to adjust this as you'd like. You can adjust the image border radius, so with or without. And then you can adjust the spacing between the image and the rest of the content. You can see that right there. So those are the settings that we added here. And there was one more setting we added, which I can show you a little bit. Here is under feature text styling. We can click this and we can show it automatically. So if you see, oh, it looks a little bit too scrunched up, you don't want to hide them, but you don't want to erase them from the block settings one by one, you can just use this to hide it. And as you can see, the image is stretching because we have that other checkbox marked. So that's what I wanted to show you. So that's it. It's a fairly simple section, but very useful to highlight features of your product or your service. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us via the support page on our website and send us an email. Thanks again. Have a good one.